Welcome to Campfire Cooking in another world with my absurd skill. Watch as Salaryman Tsuyoshi Mukuda uses his online supermarket skill to cook delicious meals, attract mythical beasts, and embark on thrilling adventures in a fantasy realm. A group of heroes is summoned from another world and greeted by a princess. Their powers are evaluated, revealing unique skills like the holy sword technique and various magic abilities. Mukuda, however, discovers he has an unusual online grocery skill. Shocked and thinking it's useless, Mukuda learns it's his only unique skill and depressingly questions why he's still required to meet the king when the others are the ones with powerful skills. The king explains that the kingdom is being attacked by a demon king and asks for their help, so the three other heroes eagerly volunteer. But Mukuda, feeling useless, decides to live a simple life. Given 20 gold coins, he leaves and buys new clothes to blend in. He gets a room at an inn and plans to leave the kingdom since he's suspicious of the king. Mukuda discovers he has item storage and appraisal skills. Curious about his online grocery skill, he taps it, revealing an online shop. After ordering food and water using his coins, a package instantly appears, making Mukuda realize his skill's usefulness. Learning the value of gold, Mukuda uses 8 gold to hire an escort. Werner, a C-rank adventurer, along with his party, Vincent the swordsman, Rita the scout, Ramon the mage, and Franca the healer. On their journey, Mukuda's cooking impresses the group, especially with his portable stove and ingredients from his online shop. The party battles monsters, with Mukuda shocked by the red boar's size, but impressed by the adventurer's skills. They decide to store the excess meat in Mukuda's storage, and his cooking increases their stats. As they camp, Mukuda's cooking attracts a Fenrir, which demands food, so he hurriedly keeps cooking until the beast is satisfied. The Fenrir, impressed by Mukuda's culinary skills, declares that they should form a contract. Initially reluctant, Mukuda agrees and seals the contract. The beast tells Mukuda he expects 3 meals a day, leaving him surprised. As part of their deal, the beast asks for a name, so Mukuda suggests the name Fel, since it's a Fenrir. As they travel, people avoid them, and Werner worries about getting past the border. During a lunch break, Mukuda realizes he's out of meat, so Fel catches a rock bird, a B-ranked monster. Werner is surprised, since they usually struggle with such creatures, so Fel lets them keep the valuable parts if he gets the meat. Mukuda prepares lunch using teriyaki sauce, and serves Fel a large portion, which he quickly gobbles up, and later at the kingdom of Venon's border. Guards are on high alert because of Fel. Werner explains the situation to the guards, and the commander is amazed by Fel's ability to speak, and lets them in. Mukuda has to pay to enter, so Werner warns him that people might target him because of Fel. Mukuda says he plans to travel and make money using his shop skill, so Werner suggests joining a guild. In town, Mukuda declines an invitation to meet the count and signs off on Werner's job. The group thanks him for the food and parts ways. Mukuda joins the merchant guild and sells goods, impressing the guild master with his salt and pepper. He then registers at the adventurers guild, so the manager there says he'll be starting at the lowest G rank and can only accept G rank or F rank quests. Surprised, he asks if she isn't going to explain anything about how the guild functions, so she sighs and says adventurers have 7 ranks, first S, then A to G. His membership has a validity period, and G-ranked adventurers need to accept a quest at least once a month. She adds that the guild cannot be held responsible if he gets hurt or dies while doing a job. Concerned, he says it seems like adventurers must be completely reliant on themselves. Examining the quest board, he picks a herb gathering quest and heads outside. Fel asks for food, so Mukuda gives him some leftover steak before checking his stats and realizing he's pretty much max level. Mukuda cheerily says the weather's amazing and that it's perfect for gathering herbs, reminding himself that he'll waste the registration fee if he doesn't do anything for the entire month. Fel angrily asks him why he's ignoring him and orders him to cook some meat. Mukuda says he should hunt for the medicinal herbs while Fel hunts, but Fel says it would be troublesome if something happens to him while he's away, since he senses the presence of various monsters around. He casts a barrier on him and says he'll be safe now, before running off to go hunt. Mukuda uses his appraisal skill to start looking for herbs, and decides to make some lunch once he's done. Trusting in Fel's barrier, he prepares his bed and goes to sleep. After they're finished and have sold orc meat to the butcher, Mukuda tells Fel that they should head out of town as soon as possible. Fel agrees but says food is more important, so Mukuda tells Fel that he's a really huge foodie. Once they're done with the meal, Fel goes off hunting, so Mukuda decides to sleep, happily praising Japanese futon mattresses. Meanwhile, Fel goes on a rampage through the forest, taking out a rock bird with a single slash and using lightning magic to destroy a giant deer. When a chimera beast appears, Fel unleashes a powerful lightning attack against it, causing a massive explosion. In the morning, Mukuda is shocked to find 3 mountains of monsters around him, so Fel admits he might have gone a little overboard, but proudly brags about defeating the chimera with a single attack, which he wouldn't have normally been able to do. Seeing the effects of the black wagyu, Mukuda says he's decided and declares that it's eternally off the menu now. During a lunch break, Mukuda wonders if Fel uses magic to hunt monsters, so he reveals he's skilled with wind magic, having been blessed by the wind goddess. Mukuda, amazed to see magic, asks if he can use it too, so Fel tells him it's possible if he has magic power. Checking his stats, Mukuda finds he can use magic and asks Fel for help, so he advises him to think about it. Mukuda tries imagining a fireball, but fails. Feeling embarrassed, Fel then shows him how mana flows in his body, and after some effort, Mukuda manages a weak fireball, so Fel advises him to gain experience by fighting monsters. Worried about getting hurt, Mukuda hesitates, but Fel gets annoyed and carries him off. They find a goblin village, and despite Mukuda's fear, Fel howls to draw the goblin's attention, forcing him to fight. He leaves to find the goblin boss, leaving Mukuda alone, so he starts attacking with fireballs, but trips as he tries to run away. A goblin jumps at him, but Fel's barrier protects him, so he keeps throwing fireballs, eventually casting a powerful one before collapsing from mana exhaustion, after which Fel returns to finish off the goblins, waking up traumatized from the fight. Fel tells Mukuda to thank him for helping him use magic, and realizes he's leveled up. Checking, Mukuda discovers he gained the fire magic skill, so Fel brings the Goblin King, which contains a valuable magic stone, as congratulations. Seeing its worth, Fel demands another feast, especially wanting wagyu steak, but Mukuda refuses and wearily buys food instead, getting different sweetbreads. Fel, preferring meat, reluctantly accepts the bread and finds it good, even asking for more, so Mukuda warns him about cavities, but Fel reveals that he's immune to any sickness since he's blessed by the wind goddess. In the next town, Mukuda introduces Fel as his great wolf, familiar to avoid attention, annoying him. The guard warns Mukuda he's responsible for Fel's actions, and inside the town, Mukuda decides they need a map. At a tavern, he buys drinks for some adventurers, who sell him a map for 1 gold. Later, others reveal he was scammed since the map is common and worth only 1 silver, so Fel comforts Mukuda, saying they'll make more money. Mukuda decides to head east to a seaside country, while Fel looks forward to eating the sea serpents and kraken there. Meanwhile, the wind goddess Ninrir watches over Fel with curiosity because Mukuda has formed a contract with him. Seeing them eating sweets, Ninrir wishes she could taste them too, but she knows she can't interfere directly in the world. Still, the longing overwhelms her, almost driving her to madness. Meanwhile, Mukuda and Fel race through the forest until Fel abruptly stops, confused by his injuries, so Mukuda explains they're from their fast dash through the trees. Wondering if they've reached the sea, Mukuda learns they've stopped at a lake because Fel wanted fish. Wondering how to fish without a rod, he uses lightning magic to summon fish to the surface and collects trout. Thinking about how similar they are to earth fish, Fel tells him to gather pink fish that make his tongue tingle. Suspicious of the color, Mukuda examines one and finds it poisonous, so he refuses to cook it to avoid contamination, which Fel reluctantly agrees with. Starting a fire, Mukuda shops for ingredients while Fel keeps asking for meat, but he declines and prepares the fish. Using techniques he learned from a cooking show, he slowly cooks them, and is impressed by the flavor while having a beer with it. Relaxed and full, Mukuda encounters a weak blue slime, so Fel remarks that it isn't dangerous. Mukuda pokes it, realizing that it's recently born. Despite its strange appetite for items like a frying pan, Mukuda appreciates its help cleaning up. Fel explains the slime has become Mukuda's companion without a formal contract, so Mukuda names it Sui. Later, he tries to learn earth magic but struggles and notices Sui growing and leveling up, wondering if it will evolve. Mukuda's magical abilities improve thanks to Fel's blessing from Ninrir, making him resistant to injuries and boosting his magic. During training, Mukuda receives messages from Ninrir asking for sweets, so he confusingly sends chocolates to satisfy her, after which Fel says they should get going. Mukuda asks if they're in a hurry, and Fel, looking suspicious, takes them to a dungeon entrance. Mukuda is confused, but Fel explains they're there for training, similar to when Mukuda learned fire magic by fighting goblins. Mukuda tries to sneak away, but Fel pulls him back. Terrified, he wants to leave, but Fel assures him the dungeon has only weak monsters and that he will protect him with a barrier. He explains that Mukuda needs this experience, so he reluctantly agrees, but decides to prepare first. He makes a feast of various foods from his shop, reminding Fel that food from his world gives temporary buffs. He eats a bit of everything to boost his stats, and shares the leftovers with Fel and Sui. Fel senses their stats increasing, and Mukuda notices Sui growing and leveling up, realizing that eating items from his world helps. Fully stuffed, he checks his stats and sees a 20% boost ready to go. They enter the dungeon and Mukuda worryingly reminds Fel to cast his barrier. They move cautiously, with Fel pushing Mukuda along as they run into slimes and horned rabbits, with Mukuda and Sui handling the attacks. They reach the final floor and find more kobolds than expected. Mukuda hesitates, but Fel encourages him, so they eventually defeat them all before the kobold king appears, and Mukuda realizes it's tough. Running out of mana, Mukuda is saved by Fel's barrier and Sui's acid attack. Fel carries the unconscious Mukuda out, and a while later Sui, now able to speak, happily calls Fel Uncle Fel, embarrassing him. When Mukuda wakes up, he panics, but soon realizes he is outside, so Sui comforts him and starts talking, shocking Mukuda. Sui explains that after they beat the king, he started speaking and calls Mukuda master. Mukuda checks Sui's stats, seeing he leveled up and gained the acid bullet skill. Checking his own stats, he learns that he's gained 4 levels and now has the earth magic skill. Fel returns, explaining he got hungry and went to find food. He asks for a meal as a reward for helping Mukuda learn earth magic, so Mukuda cooks eggs and leftover rockbird for him. After their meal, Mukuda happily laughs at Sui, calling Fel Uncle Fel. While traveling, Fel mentions they'll pass through Orthros and Griffin territory. Shocked, Mukuda worries about attacks, but Fel insists they're no threat. Orthros appear, but Fel's intimidation scares most away, and he effortlessly defeats the one Orthros that attacks them. They set up camp, and Mukuda cooks black serpent, realizing it tastes like chicken. They continue traveling and find glowing mushrooms, which Sui eats, gaining the ability to create healing potions. Entering Griffin territory, a Griffin challenges Fel to a fight to become a leader. Fel wins but spares the Griffin, who gives Mukuda a feather. They set up camp again, and Fel asks for more meat before Mukuda realizes he forgot offerings to Ninrir, who pettily tells him off. Finally, they approach Leonhardt, and Fel saves a caravan from bandits, meeting Lambert and Lars, who invite them to join their journey to Carolina. Mukuda joins the group and overhears guards wondering if Fel is a Fenrir or a great wolf. Surprised by the rumors, he learns that guilds use magical tools to send letters about him. Mukuda worries about revealing his identity as a summoned hero with item storage and shop skills, and realizes nobles are particularly interested in Fel. He hopes no one causes trouble in this new kingdom, and the caravan stops for the night. Fel reminds Mukuda of his promise for a special dinner, so he finds a secret spot while the guards eat jerky. Fel says he wants a lot of meat, so Mukuda makes fried chicken from the remaining meat. Sui and Fel love it, and the smell attracts the rest of the caravan. They find it delicious and thank Mukuda, who ends up exhausted, so the guards tell him to rest while they keep watch. After a peaceful night, they reach Carolina, which Lambert explains is the kingdom's 5th largest city, and his family has been leather merchants there for generations. The bandits are handed over to the city knights, and Lars heads to the guild to submit his report. Mukuda also goes to the guild and finds his card has been deactivated for not completing enough quests last month. He re-registers and goes to the guild butcher, showing his haul. The butcher is excited and claims he's an expert in dissecting monsters. He skins the red serpent, noting its meat is rare for commoners. Mukuda rests at an inn, thinking about reaching F rank to keep access to the butcher before Ninrir's voice reminds him of more important tasks. So he offers sweets like jellies and pudding, thanking her for her blessing. The next day, he checks the job board at the guild. Needing 100 points to rank up, Fel suggests goblin hunting, and although Mukuda initially refuses, he agrees. At the site, Sui takes out the goblins with acid bullets, and Mukuda struggles to collect their right ears as proof. They find a goblin camp, and after defeating all the goblins, Sui melts the bodies with acid, shocking both Mukuda and Fel. When Mukuda returns to the guild, everyone is surprised by how many goblins they defeated, and he's summoned to meet the guild master, Willem, as he starts feeling anxious. Willem confirms they wiped out the entire goblin settlement, and admits he's impressed by Fel's strength. He shares a message from the royal palace, saying they can live freely in the country, but might be needed in emergencies. Mukuda is happy to be free from the nobles' agendas, and Willem uses his authority to promote him to C rank, explaining it would be a problem if Fel's master had a low rank. In exchange for the promotion, Willem asks for Fel's help with A and S rank missions. Fel confidently agrees, which pleases Willem, who assures Mukuda that other adventurers won't bother them. So Mukuda reveals the high rank monsters he has been keeping. Willem and the butcher are stunned, especially by the chimera and blue ogre, and tells Mukuda to come back the next day for his new card. Later, Mukuda makes a dinner of boiled rockbird meat and vegetables with sesame dressing. The next day, he returns to the guild and receives his new silver card with a 6-month time limit. Willem pays him over 1,900 gold for the monsters he sold, leaving him shocked. Willem then reveals 2 missions: taking care of metallic skinned lizards and hunting bloody horned bulls, hearing which, Fel says he's excited about eating steak again. Mukuda visits Lambert's store to buy a new bag for Sui and chooses one made of red boar leather, while Mukuda also buys a belt and shoes. Lambert offers everything for free, grateful for Mukuda saving his life and serving a high-quality meal. He asks about serpent skin, and Mukuda agrees to sell any he finds directly to him. Later, he cooks serpent meat for Fel, who enjoys the twice-fried crispy dish, after which Mukuda stores some for himself and relaxes with a beer as Fel and Sui go to bed. Mukuda and Fel head to the mountains to search for the reported lizards. Fel detected their presence and locates a cave, so Mukuda decides to wait outside, but Fel heads in. Inside, they discovered a glowing mithril lizard, and Fel explains that magic wouldn't affect it due to mithril's unique properties, but he uses lightning to swiftly defeat it. Mukuda stores the lizard away and discovers mithril ore, envisioning weapons made from it. Sui helps collect the mithril, but Fel doesn't care about it and claims his protective barrier is stronger. Fel says they should proceed with the guild master's second request, and Mukuda hesitated, but Fel's enthusiasm for steaks convinces him. They arrive at a field populated by the fearsome bloody horned bulls, and Mukuda worries about the bulls' size and temper as Fel and Sui start fighting them. Fel effortlessly defeats all the bulls, and Sui excitedly recounts the battle to Mukuda, who began storing the bulls with its help. Back in town, Willem and the butcher are shocked by the mithril lizard, revealing its kind was last seen 400 years ago. Willem explains that the lizard signaled a potential new mithril mine, shocking Mukuda, who finds out that he'll receive approximately 5,000 gold as compensation. Willem inquires about the bulls, and Mukuda proudly reveals that he's taken care of them as well. Later, he prepares dinner and fried steaks while Fel and Sui eagerly wait. After their meal, Fel reminds Mukuda about making offerings to Ninrir, and other goddesses offer blessings as well if he sends them offerings. Despite Ninrir's objections, they decided to bless Mukuda anyway. Feeling left out, the water goddess Ruka is comforted when Mukuda requests her to bless Sui instead. The goddesses agree and Ruka blesses Sui, after which they ask for more offerings. So Mukuda sends them extra desserts as well. Checking his status, he notes that he's received blessings. The next day, he tests his enhanced magic abilities while Sui experiments with water magic, impressing Mukuda by knocking down a tree. Mukuda warns Sui against using his spells recklessly in town, and Fel says he wants to spar with Sui, but Mukuda declines. He practices a new spell, while Fel goes hunting and later returns with a black serpent for Lambert, as Mukuda shows him a house he made using his magic. When they wake up, Fel praises their hut's comfort and says they should go hunt, but Mukuda prefers returning to town to deliver the black serpent to Lambert. At the guild, he collects payment for the bull meat and surprises the butcher with the black serpent, who agrees to prepare it. Sui arrives, asking about lunch, so Mukuda prepares to cook with his new grinder, mixing bull and orc meat into patties with eggs and onions, frying them with special sauce for Fel. After the meal, he washes his shirt with some bad soap and decides to sell some from his own shop. Visiting Lambert, Mukuda shows him the serpent's skin and reveals that he wants to become a merchant, asking Lambert to assess his products. Impressed by the soap's quality, Lambert thanks him before Mukuda learns that Lambert is having problems finding an anniversary gift for Marie, who loves bathing and owned a custom tub with magical purification. Intrigued, Mukuda suggests visiting the cellar, and once they've delivered their products, Mukuda declines Fel's dungeon idea for a guild master meeting, and Fel hears some people discussing some dangerous wyverns. Mukuda meets Willem and is shocked to see the large reward he's receiving for discovering the mithril mine. Some wyverns suddenly approach them due to Mukuda removing their prey, so he hands out potions to injured adventurers and joins the sea rankers to fight, with Fel intent on handling the wyverns. In the field, Fel teaches Sui to fight wyverns, and they eventually win. Celebrating, Mukuda cooks patties with added crunch, pleasing Fel as the people at the guild worry about whether or not Mukuda is strong enough to fight the wyverns. Mukuda finally returns and announces that they wipe out all the wyverns, surprising the adventurers who decide to celebrate. Noticing Mukuda's confused expression, Willem explains that if the adventurers had fought the wyverns, at least half would have died, and admits he was worried Mukuda had failed because it took him so long to come back. Mukuda feels bad because it was an easy battle, but they stop for lunch and decides not to mention it, but Fel points out why they were late, embarrassing Mukuda. He says there were 13 wyverns, and Willem decides to buy their parts. Mukuda is happy to sell everything except the meat, but the guild only has enough money to buy half the wyverns. Back at the inn, Mukuda remembers he needs to send his offerings to the goddesses and gets a divine message from Agni, telling him to hurry. Mukuda says he is about to send his offering and gets a secret message from Ninrir, reminding him she gave him a blessing first and wants more sweets. Kisharo secretly asks for shampoo and hair products, and Ruka wants to try other food, so Mukuda tells them he can't keep their offering secret, and Agni gets mad at the secret request, so she asks for alcohol, which he agrees to. The next day, Mukuda and Fel attract attention after defeating the wyverns, and Mukuda visits a shop to buy a bathtub. He picks a green bathtub and pays, surprising the clerk, as he and Fel leave the city to find a quiet place. Fel goes hunting, and he sets up a private area with his stone wall skill, fills the tub with water, heats it, and relaxes. He cooks wyvern meat and makes a special beef bowl before Fel returns with an earth dragon, shocking Mukuda. Fel says the dragon will be delicious, and Mukuda thinks about asking the guild to help resell it. After washing Fel, he cooks stew and they enjoy the wyvern dishes before Mukuda advises Fel to regularly bathe. Later, he bids farewell to everyone in Carolina and sets off with Fel and Sui on their next adventure.